Hello and welcome. Sci-fi Thriller Project X, starring Matthew Broderick and Helen Hunt, explored the ethical dilemmas in animal testing and military secrecy, and helped to expose US Air Force experiments on chimpanzees subjected to radiation testing. Screenwriter Stanley Weiser had been tipped off about alleged ethical violations at Brooks Air Force Base in Texas. So in this 1987 interview, the intensely private writer explains the inspiration for the story and how he became aware of the experimentations with the monkeys. But the film's producers and distribution company 20th Century Fox insisted the animal testing aspects of the story be played down, both in the story and on release, when he says they were afraid to promote the film. Later, and separately, a $10 million lawsuit followed allegations about the treatment of the trained chimpanzees in the film. But the movie put Stanley Weiser on Hollywood's A-list. He went on to co-write the screenplays for the Oliver Stone films Wall Street and W, the biopic of George W. Bush, while his other screenplays have included Murder in Mississippi, Freedom Song, and Rudy, the Rudy Giuliani story. However, throughout his career, Stanley has maintained a very low profile. So this telephone interview, even back then, was a very rare opportunity to hear about the background to Project X.
You could be in the right place with the right story and not do anything with it, so you really have to write a good script.
Sure. So with Project X, I gather that one of the producers actually approached you with the story idea.
Well, that's not quite correct.
Well.
He had talked to me about the theme, and I approached him with the story.
Right.
With the material, which I found in a newsletter. There's these experiments that are being done on monkeys are actual experiments.
The ones that...
At an Air Force base in Texas called Brooks Air Force Base. And I discovered about these experiments in an obscure newsletter called Buddhist Concern for Animals. And, fashioned a simple story out of that, and then went to the producer with it and worked with him on the story. And then he took it to his partner, and they made a deal at a studio.
Be a good boy, okay? Be a good little chimp. Come here.
Man's closest relative.
Nobody's gonna hurt you, I promise. Friend.
Help? I don't know what that means. Help what?
He has the potential for language.
Help fly? You mean this?
So what was the essence of the original story that you found in the newsletter that triggered your interest or intrigued you?
Well, we years ago we had talked about doing a story about a rebellion in an animal research laboratory, and when I saw the experiments being done on monkeys, I saw that the experiments did not involve graphic violence in terms of animals being cut up.
Mm-hmm.
Silent, deadly radiation experiments.
Mm.
Which the audience would be able to watch. As much as I would have liked to have gone a little bit harder into the story, you can't do a story about animal experimentation that I think people would want to go, pay their $6 and sit through.
Yeah, exactly.
The whole subject is much more horrifying in real life. So we had to find some way of, sort of like invisible means of showing the torture.
Exactly, yeah, right. So were you able to specifically research the story? I mean, were you able to go to the Brooks Air Force Base?
Specifically, I found out, in terms of research, I wasn't allowed on the Air Force Base.
Did you attempt to get onto the Air Force Base?
Yeah, I wasn't allowed to, but this is interesting. The person who did the experiments, the person who conducted this program is named Donald Barnes. And he actually irradiated maybe 1,000 rhesus monkeys. And at a certain point, he began to question what he was doing. He left the Air Force Base, and now he's head of the Anti-Vivisection Society in Washington, D.C.
Uh-huh.
So he's become an animal rights activist, and it was through his having given an interview to this periodical that I came across the story, and then I got the information through him.
Right. So what did he say that in fact they had irradiated 1,000 rhesus monkeys and that those 1,000 monkeys had in fact died?
Oh yeah.
My God. And do the tests still go on at the Brooks Air Force Base?
To my knowledge, they don't go on any longer, but that they I really can't say with it. I know they still do other experiments. There's other military research experimentation that goes on 40 different Air Force bases or 40 different armed service bases across the country.
How did you know that they do not conduct those irradiation tests
Anymore?
Yeah.
Through hearsay. I think they discontinued them in 1984, 83. But they do other deadly experiments. I heard they were doing. They just received $1 million in funding from the Pentagon to do other experiments with non-radiation experiments. There's some type of law that was passed that they can't do radiation experiments. So I think they're doing experiments with lasers and there's several other. There's a magazine called Animals Agenda, and the issue this month is the Pentagon's secret war on animals.
How hard did you try to get into Brooks Air Force Base?
Oh, we were denied access. It was like they felt, what's for us to gain in a situation like this?
They said.
Yeah, there's no way they would let us on.
Right. But did you really push it? I mean, did you try hard to get in there?
No, because it didn't seem really feasible that we'd be able to. We tried.
Right.
Actually, we did. Our research consultant, the technical advisor, wrote a very formal letter, and we almost got in actually. But a general overruled it.
Right. So what we see on the screen there, how close is that to what was going on? Do we have any idea at all?
I've seen actual footage of the experiment. Donald Barnes did a documentary, and it's more primitive. Obviously, this is a movie, so we take license, but
right, yeah,
are irradiated the same way, except their death is brutal, torturous death. We don't really show that.
No. How long does it take them to die after they've been irradiated?
It would depend upon the dosage, how many rads they were exposed to. Could be anywhere from a couple of days to weeks.
God Almighty.
So it's a pretty horrific experiment.
Yeah. Had you had any sort of commitment or interest to animal welfare at all before this?
Yes, I had always been concerned about it. I belong to a group called Buddhist Concern for Animals.
Right. I accept then that you're a Buddhist.
Yeah.
Right. Was it a difficult film to push through to the studio, given that there's so much money involved and political pressures and all of that sort of thing?
I think that it was probably pushed through because the producers wrote the movie War Games.
Uh-huh.
This is in a similar vein, obviously, and they took a risk.
And what about? Did you have any involvement once the screenplay had been completed at all? I mean, did you remain, for example, on the set while the film was being shot to do any rewrites or anything like that?
I was on the set, but doing marginal work. Whereas in Wall Street, I was more active.
Well, I'd like to get onto that in a moment or two. How do you feel the film has finished up Project X? I mean, are you happy with the final result, with the way that it interprets the story?
Overall, yes. Yes, I am. I would say that the director did a very good job. There were things that, obviously, I feel that I would have liked that there are parts of the script that I feel that were missing in the movie, but on an overall level, I think he captured the spirit of the movie very well. Chimpanzees come to life, and there were, a movie is a collaborative effort, and there were a lot of things that were changed, but one writer was supposed to accept that. For instance, on Coast to Coast, the script was changed in a very negative way. I barely recognized my movie. In this case, I think the director did it justice.
Mm. What was the reaction, not so much from critics or the box office, but politically to the film?
That's kind of disappointing to me. There hasn't been that much reaction.
Did you? Are you saying that you wrote it hoping to provoke some sort of reaction?
I really hope that it would shed more light on the atrocities being committed in animal experimentation, in the name of animal experimentation.
Mm.
And the studio is afraid to promote that. And the advertising, they figured that would keep, force people away.
Mm.
I really don't think that that we capitalized enough on that.
Mm. Did you attempt to do any promotion yourself? I mean, to do any interviews or anything?
No, the writers in the U.S. are not called upon usually to do the interviews.
Yes, yeah.
Wall Street is a little bit different.
Okay. Well, is there anything else that we can cover on Project X? Because I'm certainly going to take the angle, the provocation angle here, and there's a very good chance because there are a number of animal welfare groups in Australia who will respond to this and may well seek to.
That would mean a lot to me and to the some of the people who helped out in this, because they, Donald Barnes and several other people. I think that there's never been a movie, a Hollywood movie about animal experimentation. And we feel that was very important, and I'm sure the animal rights groups picked up on it in the U.S., but it wasn't promoted as widely as I think it should have been.
Mm.
The experiments will go on.
Yep.
Laser experiments where they test laser weapons on animals. There are no laws prohibiting any of that.
Mm. Mm. Yes, I mean the way it's come across, of course, is with the monkeys, who were just wonderful. I mean, they virtually stole the show, and it's very cute, but it kind of does rush you softly past the real point of the movie.
Well, that I can't really comment about. I had to write. There were changes made there.
Mm.
By and large, that's the nature of the film business.
Of course it is, yeah.
The experiments at Brooks Air Force Base became a focal point for the animal rights movement in the 1980s. Donald Barnes, a former principal investigator at the base, became a prominent whistleblower after quitting the program. He criticised the PEP experiments as repetitive and unnecessary, eventually joining the International Primate Protection League to advocate for the end of military primate testing. The base officially closed in 2011, and much of the remaining primate research was transferred to other facilities or ended.